Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Happy Monday. Happy June.
Oh my God, that's so weird to say. I keep looking at my phone to see what the date is because I don't
Right,
know.
right. How did we get to the 6th month of the year already? How did that happen? You are not. Do not adjust well, I say your television set. You're not watching this on television set. Do not adjust your phone or your iPad. Carly and I are back on the same show at the same time. It's a
Shocking.
miracle.
I know.
I feel like we haven't done this in more than a month, right?
I know, and
It's
I'm like, it's
like
crazy,
we
but
missed all of May,
right.
because one or the other of us was always doing something. And
There's a lot going on in the theme park world right now. So
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you got to go to Kathmandu since we talked last, right?
yeah, I
Uh,
don't even know where I went to Kathmandu. I went to Finland.
oh my gosh.
Um, I don't even. Oh, I was just in LA for like a little over a week, doing Knott's opening of summer nights, doing my first Universal Hollywood VIP tour.
Well, before we talk all about it, since this is just the pre-show, let's say hi to some folks in the chat, and then we can launch into this and do this for real.
Yes.
First of all, first one up in the chat is Moon F603, just to say hi. Thank you. Cindy Bingham, hello, saying hello to Seth and Carly. Thank you. Hello to you, and of course, hello to Michael
Hey.
Bingham. Welcome back to the podcast. Always a good Monday when we get to hear from Michael. And in Derek's corner, it's Blossom and Michelangelo, or Donatello and Leonardo around too. I love those turtles. And finally, Brian Sager checking in. He's just getting over a summer sinus
Oh,
cold, and aren't
worse.
those the worst? And I don't know, where might he have found a good article on the price difference between Abu Dhabi and Walt Disney World? Yes, you will find that at attractionsmagazine.com. Theron, who went with me on our trip to the UAE, one of the things that really shocked us there was how cheap everything was. And we couldn't quite believe it, but Theron came back, ran all the numbers, and you will be shocked when you read this article. I know it sounds like clickbait, but I highly recommend checking that one out.
Right. See, you know what? I think we need to reassess the word clickbait because there's so much in the digital space that I'm sorry, anything that catches my eye and gets me to read,
Yeah.
as both a reader and a writer, I love that because people love to hate on the price of Disney. So if you could rope people in, it's perfect for me.
Well, you know what? I gotta say, as I don't know if I'm a journalist, but a writer who's a little
You
more
are.
old school. I hate it when you don't get the most important information in the headline or the first paragraph. Can't stand it when they save the one thing that you came there for the very, very end, usually scrolling past 20 ads and maybe clicking on 3 more
All right.
pages. Can't stand that. Anyway, moving right along. Finally, Theron himself checking in. Hello, and yes, Abu Dhabi was an amazing experience. We talked about that last week, and I could probably talk about that for a whole nother podcast. And you know what?
Yes.
I think we're going to. I think Theron and I are going to be doing a special podcast.
Woo.
Look for that in the not too distant future. Well, now that we have checked in with everyone in the chat, without any further chit chat, I think it's time for us to kick off the recording of this episode in 3, 2.
Please lower your head and watch your step while boarding.
Welcome to the Attractions Podcast. You are all clear for dispatch. Have fun.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 194 of the Attractions Podcast, sponsored by MEI and MEI-Travel. I'm Seth.
And I'm Carly.
And we are here to talk to you about the latest and greatest in theme park news and more, as well as what is going on in our own lives. It is Carly and my first time back together doing the show in well over a month. We've both been global travelers, which I think we've talked a little bit about on previous shows. so great to see you again. What
I
have you
know.
been up to just this past
Ooh.
week? Okay, let's
Oh.
keep it short.
Well, I just literally just got off the plane from Hersheypark, so I know we're going to talk about that in the main attraction. Before that, I was in LA for a bit doing all the things. I went to the opening weekend of Not Summer Nights. I went to the Fiesta Village opening.
Oh,
I stayed at the Disneyland Hotel, and it was my
mm.
first time ever staying there. Obviously, I've spent a lot of time at Trader Sam's, but it was my first time actually staying there, and it just hits differently.
It
I
it's nice when you can just crawl back from the Enchanted Tiki Bar,
Yes,
right back to your room without
it
worrying
was
about a flight.
wonderful. Yeah, we did like a staycation, I was with my girlfriend. We both have magic keys, but we're like, we don't really feel like doing the park. We always do the
Mm,
park. Let's enjoy this resort. And I just have to say, the touches throughout the room, you just
mm.
don't get that at Disney World. Like, even the coffee maker had little coasters with vintage photos of Walt Disney. The dining menu had really cool black and white images of Disney. It was just all these really like little details that you don't get that felt so special. I also did my first VIP tour at Universal Hollywood. So I've done a few at Orlando,
Oh,
but this was the first Hollywood one. And we got to go onto the Hill Valley Back to the Future set.
I got to
And
do
so,
that once, and it was magical.
yes. So obviously, sadly, because of the strike going on, there's no productions, but
Mhm.
that worked out for our favor for this day because they don't go that. I mean, the tram tour doesn't even go through the streets of New York anymore. I haven't
Mm.
done that in like years.
I got lucky enough to see that the last time, and that's a rare occurrence when they're not doing active production that prevents the tram tour. But yeah, it's bad news for the writers, but great news, I guess, if you're a tourist right now who wants to see those sets up close.
Yes, I was a little nervous. I consulted with one of my girlfriends who is a television writer on strike, and I
Um,
said, "Is it okay if I do something like this?" And she said she was actually doing another type of tour, like with family on vacation, and
mhm,
she consulted the guild, and they said, "No, we want people to continue to be fans of productions,
mm.
movies, television." So they're encouraging people so you're not crossing the picket line, which was
Okay,
my
that is good to know. That is
yeah, so
very
I was
good
like,
to
I
know.
need intel from the source. But
Yeah.
this tour, I mean, the Universal Orlando tours are wonderful.
Mhm.
Hollywood is just as great, but you get that extra 2 hours walking the back lot, and
Yeah.
it is
Nothing
it's,
like it.
it's ama-
Nothing like it. I
amazing.
love the prop warehouse that they took us into.
Yeah.
And plus, it's very special right now because the only way, as far as I know, to get express line access into the Mario Kart ride is on a VIP tour, and you get that
Oh,
lanyard that's good until the park closes. It's
yes. So that was pretty crazy. So when you do the VIP tour at Universal Hollywood, you obviously get unlimited express as well for the rest of the day after
Mhm.
the tour ends. But during the tour, it's the only way that you can get that expedited access to Mario
Mm.
Kart. And gosh, that was really crazy because it was like a 2 hour wait. And the tour guide just kind of moves people to the side,
Uh,
go down the side stairs, and you feel a little like, oh, these people are like, what is going on here? But hands down,
mhm.
if you can do it, the crazy thing is it starts at around 350 a person. Express there is two something. So
Uh,
if you were doing a mix-in VIP tour,
yeah.
350, you get food, you get like a starting meal, you get a full meal during the day, which was actually amazing. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like character dining there because all the like Dracula and Frankenstein, they come through into the VIP
Mm.
lounge. You get this
Oh,
little
that's great.
character breakfast. It was amazing. I'm writing a story about it because I'm like,
Mm.
all these years I've been, splurging for like a hotel with Express or whatnot. I don't know. I think the secret is to go on an off-peak day during the week when it's like 350 a person.
Yeah.
I told you
And
I'm doing horror nights for 350 a person. That's
sure.
crazy.
And I believe those prices at Hollywood are including your one-day admission. At
Yes.
Universal in Orlando, all of their VIP prices are excluding admission, which is great if you've got an annual pass.
Right.
If you're factoring in the ticket price as a tourist, that adds up. But at Hollywood, those prices are including your admission, so it's actually a really good value. That
Oh,
you only got one day, and you really want to experience Super Nintendo and get in the whole rest of the park.
Absolutely. And they can't get you in through like the games, the mini games in Nintendo World. So
Mm,
I feel like that's something after you do the tour, maybe you want to come back and do
yeah, that'd
that.
be great at
But
the end of the night.
absolutely. That's like my number one takeaway from going to Super Nintendo World a lot is don't go there right away and don't go there in the afternoon.
Mm,
Go there like as close to closing as you can,
mm,
because during the day it
mhm.
packs up. I mean,
Yeah,
it's still fun to see everything, but just wait for the last like 2 hours, especially now that the park's been open until like 10 p.m.
yeah,
Many nights, try to go at night. You'll
yeah.
get a
They
better
they
experience.
sell an hour of early admission, and it's limited enough so that if you get it before it sells out, and
Right.
you're one of the first people in there, that first half hour or so in the park is amazing. But then get out of there when the
Right.
regular people come in, because it becomes just jam packed and
Right. And I
insane.
mean, I still love it. Like I can just sit
Yeah.
there outside a Toadstool, on the benches and just
Hmm.
look up at everything. But yeah, you'll have a better experience if you can just go either spend the money in the morning or wait till nighttime.
For
You
sure.
can do that.
And your latest adventure that you just got back from last night, that's going to be our headline a little later in the show. I have not done anything nearly as exciting this week because I have been recovering from a combination of the Orlando Fringe Festival, still shaking that jet lag from going to
Oh,
Abu Dhabi, and also I happen to have my new edition of the unofficial guide to Disneyland, which is due to my editor in a few hours.
oh, wonderful.
So I haven't had much time to go to the parks, but I did get invited out there with Matt, our publisher of attractions, to Universal Studios Florida on Friday, and I got to interview one of the designers of the Jurassic Park 30th anniversary tribute store, which is just fantastic. That interview, that video is up on our YouTube channel, and if you want to know about the secrets, the Easter eggs, the work that goes into that amazing tribute store, check that out. That video was a lot of fun to put together. Uh, Thank you, Brian, in the comments. He already saw it. All right, what's taking the rest of you so long? Come on, we need some views on that one. All right. Well, I think that without any further ado, it's time for us to jump into the news in the queue. First up, Disneyland is debuting a new pre-show short themed to Elemental that will be running before World of Color 1. This is taking place in June. It started on June 2nd. I don't know exactly when it will end, but it is a limited time. And are you excited about this new film, Elemental, coming out?
I guess I'll see it. I always try everything once. I can't
It,
say I'm excited, but
I will say it gives me strong Inside Out vibes.
yes. I mean,
It,
color scheme, yeah.
color scheme, character design, and I Inside Out was one of those that before I saw it, I was like, oh, is this going to work? And then fell in love with that movie.
Right. But this is
So
why I bought the AMC pass, because you know what? I'll see something, I'll give it a chance.
so you can take a chance. You can take
It's
a
low
chance.
pressure.
Um, so, well, so the pre-show is already running right now, and it brings together the elements of land, air, water, and fire, who are all residents of Element City. And they, I guess, fire and air can manage to last on water screens because they're being projected on water screens. I don't know.
I'm not
There's a
really
joke in there somewhere,
girl,
but I'm not sharp enough to figure it out right now.
yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I think it's exciting in general for DCA because we also have Rogers the musical at the Hyperion Theater. So they're doing and taking chances in the live entertainment space, which I am all for because, Disney has kind of cut back so much on it. So I think this is just good overall in general for what we may see moving forward.
I love the World of Color infrastructure. I'm not a huge fan of the current World of Color 1.
I'm with
Hopefully it
you.
is just for the 100th anniversary and we can go back to another version. But this would, if I was out there, and you mentioned earlier about your trip out there, made me very jealous because I actually had Magic Key reservations for this week. It's the last week before my level of pass is blocked out. So I got those last 4 days before the blockout. I was thinking maybe I'd do it, but just didn't work out with flights. So maybe in August. Maybe in August I'll get to see this if it's still running. Kind of doubt it will be. Elemental premieres in theaters on June 16th. Like I said, I don't think they've set a closing date for this, so it could be a matter of weeks. It could be throughout the summer.
We don't know.
Not quite sure. But next up, we have what I was just talking about, that exclusive guided tour of Jurassic Park Tribute Store. This was a lot of fun to go out and do. The tribute stores have been a big fan favorite, especially among annual pass holders at Universal for the last few years. It moved back in Mardi Gras from its old location in the New York area up towards the front of the park. I think with the Mardi Gras one, they were maybe still finding their legs onto how to really use the space, but this one's a really impressive piece of work.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it in person this month. The last Jurassic one they did, what was that, 2021?
That was the year that the Velocicoaster opened.
Yes,
So, yeah,
2021.
that was that summer. Yep.
That was amazing.
Yep.
So good. One of my favorites.
This is great because it's not just taking you into the movie itself, but it's taking you kind of behind the scenes of the movie. My favorite room is the first room that has recreations from Phil Tippett Studios and Stan Winston, and a lot of the really great Easter eggs about the special effects, the groundbreaking special effects that went into the movie. Plus, it's just filled with great photo ops. The best one is the Velociraptor inside. And it was also really good to see the, I'm Triceratops? Or is that, yeah, that is sleeping. She's sleeping. She's not dead. She's sleeping out front. Because I remember back when she was in the lobby of the horror makeup show, when that was a Jurassic Park exhibit, and she's been out at Give Kids the World for a long time. So
no, I love seeing the pictures of that. I have to say, the merch that they did for the 30th is so good. It also dropped at Hollywood around the same time, maybe like 2 days before this opened at Orlando, and I am definitely guilty of buying quite a few items from it because they really knocked it out of the park. Did you get anything?
you know what? I didn't on that first trip because I didn't have my annual pass with me. I was there as media and not as a guest, but I might even go back today and take another look through. They have some amazing Japanese shirts, and they've also got some great Mr. DNA stuff.
Yeah,
that's very
no, it's really good. So I was like, oh God, I spent way too much, but I know a lot of people were also in the same situation. You know, more park clothes can never hurt.
Yeah. And Brian, I had the same question as Brian did, if some of the merch was from USJ in Osaka. And from what I saw in the labels, they didn't have USJ. I believe that they told us that they were Japanese shirts from an anime line. There was some anime version of or manga version of Jurassic Park, and that's what it was tied to, but it wasn't specifically for the park out there.
Sometimes they'll have Minion stuff from USJ, US Parks, and that will say, like, you know, Universal Studios Japan on it. So I was curious about that.
Yeah, I didn't see any USJ labels, but they were Japanese shirts. So that is up right now. It first opened on May 26th, and it's open daily with the park. So check it out this summer.
Yes, until HHN.
Until HHN comes in, exactly.
Yeah.
Lego City Water Playground is now open at Legoland, New York, just in time for the summer. It opened up on May 26th. And it's got 4 water slides, a giant 318-gallon water bucket, and a chance to build and race your own Lego boat.
Yes, I love that. They have that one also at Legoland, California. And when I first heard about it, I was like, this is just so cool. You literally are building your boat that you then race it in there. Legoland, New York is just a wonderful park. I got to go in April for the first time. It is such a nice park for, the younger audience. I know it's a lot of locals that come in. It's just something great, fun to do. The park is wonderful. They have that original Lego factory
That
dark ride.
trackless dark ride looks really good.
Yes. Oh, so good. So
Yep.
I'm excited they have this now because, it really heats up there in that area. Like coming up June, July, August, it will be hot and that will be a welcome
Yeah.
escape. I also saw that they have on-site changing areas at the water playground, which I think is really smart. So you can bring, I know parents have like their backpack of stuff. Bring your kids the change of clothes, and then you could still enjoy the rest of the park without having to leave and come back, which I think is a nice touch.
Yeah, and I think this is a smart size for this park. It's, bigger than just a splash pad with a couple little spraying fountains, but it's smaller than a full-size water park, so you're not going to get big lines for the slides. I think it's perfect for that age group. And it's also it is now a certified autism center. The whole Legoland New York resort opened for the season with certification from IBCCES, which also certifies the park in Florida and California. So that is great news if you've got a kid on the spectrum and you want to be able to take them somewhere it'll be accessible.
Definitely. And they have advanced resources. And then also all of the attractions have, the sensory guides on it, which is nice. I'm actually working on a story about it now to see how this is going to be, is this going to be an industry precedent setting thing? What are we going to see with the other parks?
It was interesting when we were in Abu Dhabi, they even mentioned at SeaWorld, even though there isn't an Americans with Disabilities Act there in the UAE, they do have something called Persons of Determination, which is very, very similar. And they said that they are working on getting autism certification there too. So they would be the first autism certified facility like that in the Middle East.
Good to know.
Legoland New York Resort is also got their signature seasonal events returning, kicking off on June 30th with Red, White, and Boom, their 4th of July celebration. Summer Saturday nights in July and August, Brick or Treat, Halloween in September and October, and of course the Holiday Bricktacular for Christmas time.
Yes, I love that Legoland does so many events, and also at Florida too. And they're, for the most part, included with normal park admission, which I think is a nice touch.
Yeah. So if you want more information, just head on over to Legoland.com's website and look up their New York resort. And for our last story in the queue, Arctic Rescue Straddle Coaster has now opened at SeaWorld San Diego. They are calling it the longest and fastest straddle coaster on the West Coast. But we'll discuss what exactly that title means. It opened up on June 2nd. It's the 6th coaster at that park. And it is an icy adventure that I believe reuses part of their Wild Arctic building.
Yes. I am very excited about this. It looks really good. And from what I've seen from reviews so far, people are loving it.
It is. This is not a big thrill coaster. Even though that they are advertising it as fastest and longest, it's still only 40 miles an hour. It is more of a terrain coaster, kind of low, tight to the ground, no inversions. This is a good tween coaster. I would say it's similar to a Hagrid's in style, but without the surprise drops or backwards or theming.
Right. And you know what? I think terrain coasters serve a purpose, and it's kind of nice to enjoy the nice wind in your air without screaming your head off.
Sure.
And this is most definitely a family park. So I think it's a smart move to go that route, unlike Orlando, which is like, there's so many thrill, crazy coasters.
Sure. I think in Orlando it would get a little bit lost. But for San Diego, especially since I think they have some pretty strict height requirements out there on their um, Arctic Rescue. Speaking of height requirements, has a 48-inch height requirement, and it the Arctic Rescue is located alongside the Wild Arctic exhibit, and this is all benefiting SeaWorld's conservation partner, Alaska Sea Life Center, which is the only facility in Alaska combining a public aquarium with marine research. So guests who are riding this ride afterwards can walk through the enclosures with the beluga whales and the walruses, which frankly I think is the best part of all of this.
Yes. No, this looks great. I think they're doing a lot over there. We've seen new food and beverage options. Obviously, Hollow Scream is now a part of it. So I think I would make a little detour the next time I'm in LA to check this out.
And I'll be honest. Even if this is not maybe up to Orlando's kind of thrill standards, I would love something like this to go into Wild Arctic, replacing that simulator ride, because
Right.
anything would be an improvement over that simulator. I think like when they shut the building down and just use it for a Halloween walkthrough, it's an improvement over the simulator. So
Right. No, I feel like definitely SeaWorld San Diego is in a different category. They definitely kind of like gotten their act together these last couple of years, if that makes sense. They had a lot of change over CEOs and whatnot.
Yeah,
But
and we're
I
not
feel
going to talk about the submarine ride.
Oh my God. I watch YouTube
I'm talking
videos of it all the time because it is the most bizarre thing. Oh my God. But yes, no, I feel like they're doing a lot. Definitely a great family destination. It's hard to compete in SoCal, but now it's getting up to there to where it's worth the drive down if you're doing the other parks.
For sure. I have personally never made it there, but one of these trips I am going to.
Yes.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the news in the queue. Before we get into this week's main attraction, it is time for us to hear a word from our sponsor.
The Attractions Podcast is brought to you. The Attractions Podcast is brought to you by MEI and MEI-Travel. Whether your next vacation is a magical trip to the theme parks, an exciting adventure to the pyramids of Egypt, or just a relaxing cruise on the turquoise waters of the Bahamas, MEI-Travel provides premium service and expert advice to help you get the most of your vacation. They are always free of any hidden fees or costs to you. Visit them at MEI-Travel.com.
It's time for the main attraction!
All right, and this week's main attraction was Carly's trip to Hersheypark to experience the all-new Wildcat's Revenge, which is an RMC makeover of Wildcat. It's one of those steals from a Woody, and you got to experience it. So take it away. Tell us all about it.
Wow. When I was pulling up to Hersheypark, I'm not gonna lie, it made me a little nervous because you see it's right, it's right on the edge of the road, so you really see it, and you could see those inversions, and it was, I will say, definitely of every roller coaster I've been on, the most intense, the most relentless, but also smooth, and I felt safe, if that makes sense. So it's not intense in a way where, your head's banging all around, you're in pain. No motion sickness. I felt great on it. It is just a relentless 2+ minutes where it's nonstop. And my sister and I got off and we're like, oh my God, this is like the best ride ever, but we need like 30 minutes to just like
recover
our breath. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I need a cigar or something. It is amazing. So this is basically kind of like the third Wildcat. Hersheypark's first roller coaster was the Wildcat tour in 1923. That lasted until 1940s, and then in the 90s, as you know, Wildcat, their wooden coaster, opened. I loved it. It was kind of one of the first roller coasters I ever fell in love with. I thought it was great, but over the years, it got a little rickety. I still enjoyed it, but so basically last year shut down. RMC took over. It's basically, I think it's like 90% the same track for the most part, with some small changes in there. It is an amazing coaster. If you can go to Hersheypark, go. It is so much fun. We sat the front row.
Uh,
It's just a wonderful. It's wonderful. I was
y-
definitely going up the first hill. I was like, oh my god, it's a slow crawl up, and we were like, holy, you know. But once it gets going, it is so much fun.
you sound like me after I rode Iron Gwazi.
Yes.
Have you been on Iron Gwazi?
I chickened out.
Well,
So
now that you've conquered this, I think they're probably very comparable. What I understand, the stats on Iron Gwazi are a little more intense, but they're in the same ballpark,
right.
and it's the same sort of concept where you've got a big old wooden coaster, but then this hill here, this lift hill, and this first drop were certainly not part of the old design, because you can see how that is sort of suspended up over the wooden, and that's a heck of a first drop. I know the first drop on Iron Gwazi is one of the most intense that I've been on.
Right. And like I will say, like I was a little nervous going up that first,
Mhm.
but that drop was fine. It was more
Okay.
the inversions that
Yeah.
were like, holy crap. The
Mhm.
lap bar, it has little handles, and then also you have like the little loop, like a lasso, like a horse
Uh-huh.
thing. I don't know how to whatever that's called technically, I'm not sure. So
Okay.
my sister decided to hold the handles on the lap bar, and I held the little loop thing, like
Mhm.
bucking a horse. And a couple times I was like, let me just put my hands in the air and just, see it. And whoo, you quickly get
Oh,
back to holding it because it is wild. But again, so smooth. I didn't feel an ounce of motion sickness, which sometimes I do
uh-huh.
get a little bit. My back didn't hurt. My head wasn't rattling. It is relentless, but
Yeah.
so smooth. The only other thing I can compare it to, like aggressive level, is the Voyage at Holiday
Uh,
World. That's kind of
okay.
how I felt, similar getting off. Definitely more intense. I was like,
Mhm.
now I can do anything. I feel like
Ah, ah.
will do anything and it will not phase me after going on this, because it is just 2+ minutes of relentless fun.
Well,
It was really fun.
I gotta say, Wildcat, I believe that was one of the early models of its type, of that kind of, for its time, an extreme wooden coaster.
Right.
And they aged really badly. I can remember going on it the first season and being like, "Oh, this is amazing,"
Right. Yeah.
and within like 2 or 3 seasons, being like, "Oh, I need a chiropractor." And
Exactly.
similar thing happened to Gwazi in Tampa.
Mhm.
And I just love, rather than tearing it down and wiping it out and starting from scratch, I love that they found a way to take those ambitious but deeply flawed old wooden coasters and turn them into great new experiences that everyone seems to rave about.
Absolutely. And you know what? The turnaround was so fast. It's crazy that they announced this last summer
Yeah.
and now here we are.
Yeah, I
And
feel like they can do one of these in half the time it would take to, demolish and build a brand new coaster.
right, definitely. I think this is definitely like a top 3 for me.
Wow.
My previous, or maybe my still favorite, is Lightning Rod, which is also an
Mm,
RMC at Dollywood.
mhm,
That is just not as intense as this. So,
mm,
I come off of that and I'm like, gosh, that was so much fun, but I don't need to like sit and breathe for like
sure.
30 minutes. But no, this is so much fun. They also did a lot of like fun little drinks and food that were Wildcats
Oh,
Revenge
great.
themed. So I before this, I did have a Wildcats Revenge themed margarita, which
Ah,
was my
that I'm sure that loosens you up.
yeah.
That'll help.
That helped, but it was wonderful. We got off and we're like, oh my god, this is great. I was there opening day and they had 3 trains running, and I was super impressed by the operations. They were running at a 30-minute wait. They
Oh,
were
wow.
like
That's
really
great.
doing it. I was super impressed because it's the first day.
Sure.
There's so much to learn, and this one has the seatbelt, so they do the seatbelt check.
Mhm.
Then you put down the lap bar, and they were just kind of like rocking and rolling with it. So it was just a great experience. I feel like I love Hersheypark, and I know you do because we grew up like in that neck of the
Mhm.
woods. But
Yep.
now is kind of the time to go there. They have 15 roller coasters,
Yeah.
tons of good, just like themed attractions. Like Blaster Game Reese's Cup Fusion is one of my
Mhm.
favorites.
Good one.
It's just a great park, family friendly, so much to do.
I can't wait to get up there and try it, and I also can't wait for you, next time you're down here to get on Iron Gwazi
I
so
will.
that you can do the
I can do
the
anything.
challenge with him. Yeah, you can do anything now.
After that, I could do anything. Yeah. It was
Well,
so much fun.
before we close out this week's show, let's take a second to look back at some of the comments that you folks left. Um, Brian Sager, when we were talking about the tribute store, he's really curious when it converts for Halloween Horror Nights. Um, it usually happens before the Halloween Horror Nights season kicks off.
Right.
I would look for this tribute store to be there through July, and then by the beginning of August,
Right.
I'd say that's probably going to turn over. And he was also wondering if the Arctic coaster is different from Wave Breaker in San Antonio, or if it's more like Dark Coaster at Busch Gardens. I believe it's the same model of coaster as Dark Coaster,
Yeah.
but Dark Coaster is, that's indoors and it's
Right.
using a multi-launch system. It's a lot more sophisticated, a lot more themed. But I think the similar ride vehicles though. And Adam says that terrain coasters are great as long as they don't go backwards. Have you been on a backwards terrain coaster?
Probably, I don't even know. But we don't do backwards well.
You don't do backwards. Yeah.
In our older age, my tolerance has
Yeah,
declined.
the closest thing I know to a backwards terrain coaster is sort of the backwards section of Everest.
God, yeah.
Especially since that's in the dark, you don't know what's going on there. So what else have we got here? Talking about Wildcat. Spider-Man Webhead says the underflip in the original first drop of GCI's first coaster. I believe he's referring to the inversions. They've got some unique inversions, and you mentioned that they're especially intense. Did you get any good stall time or hang time in those?
I don't know. I blacked out. Yeah, no, the inversions are no joke. But again, like so intense, but also I felt perfectly smooth and safe, if that makes sense. It's like it's not a rickety ride. After that, I went on Lightning Racer, which is like one of my favorite, just classic woodens, and that's like, holy crap, that's rickety and insane. It's like Wildcat's Revenge. Even if I'm hanging upside down, it still feels good. It's a smooth track, but they are crazy.
Yeah. I can't wait to try it myself. I'm going to let Brian have the last word. He's more of a Hypercoaster Apollo's Chariot fan, but he's going to Hershey for the chocolate, obviously.
I think we had about 10 chocolate martinis over the weekend.
Oh, you know what I really love at the that restaurant that overlooks the entrance? They have the chocolatier. They have a chocolate peanut butter cup old fashioned.
That's what I had yesterday.
Yes, that peanut butter whiskey. Oh yeah, with the chocolate bitters.
Oh,
mm-hmm.
One of the greatest theme park bars / restaurant, the chocolatier. Have to go. And then of course the Hershey signature chocolate martinis are so good. Go to Hersheypark if you are looking to do something outside of all the major ones. The resorts on site are amazing. We stayed at the Hotel Hershey this weekend.
Oh,
it just
if you can afford it, that's a great experience.
But I also love Hershey Lodge. That's where we always would stay growing up, and it's like affordable. They have an indoor water park that's just for guests of the Hershey Lodge. It is, and you have transportation to the park. It is a lovely, lovely hotel. They do a great job there.
All right, and before we sign off, we got one last person in the chat. Troy Francis McDonald, calling in from Maine. Big fan of Disney and Universal and SeaWorld parks. Fan of Star Wars, Avatar, and Indiana Jones. And who is not? Those are three of my favorites too. So thank you, Troy. All right, we are going to sign off for this week. We will be back next week. Just the two of us again, hopefully for a while. But who knows? One of us might be called off to a theme park on the other side of the world. It happens. Until next week. Before we go, we want to thank again our sponsors, MEI and MEI-Travel. Remind everyone to please give us a rating and a review wherever you listen to us. You can follow me at theunofficialguides.com. You can follow the whole team at attractionsmagazine.com and search for Attractions Magazine on socials. And Carly, where can folks find you?
Yes, I am on Twitter at Carly Caramata and on Instagram at Adventures by Carly.
Excellent. And until next week, we hope you folks stay safe, try something new, but most importantly, have fun. And we will see you again next time. Bye.